Welcome to Nkosi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Find your own voice. Welcome to Nkosi Talk Shows. Lead from within. Over to you, Cottrell, and please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello and good afternoon from London, UK. And yes, I'm Carol Ann. And as the writing facilitator, what I do is I support soul-driven entrepreneurs in becoming more productive with their writing by connecting them with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their book written, getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within. So, Amanda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning from Canada. It's bright and early here. So I am an artist, illustrator, and an author. I'm also a teacher. And my focus is always helping people find their own unique creative capacities within themselves, because we're all creative. Even if we can't draw, we have our own creativity within ourselves, and it can be shown in so many different ways. So I love being here, and I'm excited for our talk this morning.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So our talk today is how to deal with overwhelm. Amanda was saying she's overwhelmed with this business with the coronavirus vaccine. So you were just telling us that you are overwhelmed because you don't want to have the vaccine, and now you feel that you're being forced to have the vaccine, and that can bring anxiety if basically it's against your beliefs, and you don't know what to do because now you're worried about your job, that you might lose your job if that comes to a point where you have to defend yourself, you have to go to court. That's too much. To me, that would be too much. That's overwhelming. So I'm gonna just give it to Carol Anna because you chose this topic. So we'd like to hear, why did you choose this topic?
I chose the topic because I was aware of the other week of me sitting and I'm literally becoming quite panicky and realizing that my mind was going around and juggling all these things that I had to do and fit in. And I'm thinking, wow, but I didn't normally used to get like this. And I realized it was just my mind bringing everything together and creating it such that it seemed impossible for me to actually function in that day, because it just seemed like, oh my God, there's all this stuff I've got to do, and why have I done this to myself, and and I just had to stop and put it into perspective. And so I thought, yeah, this is a great topic to look at, and because it's so easy to get into that state and realize and for it to bring us down. So let's explore how we can actually overcome that, or work with it, or recognize when we actually do it to ourselves, and that it is actually in our minds, it is within our power to actually deal with how we are being with overwhelm. And overwhelm is a mental state of being. it's emotional, and there's behaviors that come about because of it that are not, what's the word? They're not really, they don't work for you in that moment. They're not supportive. They don't help you get things done. And so it's about being able to manage it, overcome it, so that life becomes workable and achievable. Because actually, I just thought, I can't achieve this. No way am I going to do this. And and I just suddenly put everything into perspective and went, come on. And then brought myself back to the moment. And I got it done. Or I think there was one or two things I just thought, do you know what? Put them aside. Put them aside. They're not important right now. Do what I can do. And I was able to breathe again. So yeah, it's I thought it'd just be something great to explore.
I think that overwhelm is something that people find at different points in their lives. I know as a teacher during report card time, I always feel completely overwhelmed. That's and the start of the school year. The start of the school year until about December, I'm always like, wow, there's so much to do. And then I find after January, it kind of like slows down a bit and it's really goes really smooth until about the end of May. And then it's like, intense, crazy time. I don't know what your guys' exact school year's like, because ours goes September till June. But that for me, those are my overwhelm times, is September until about December, and then the end of May until the end of June. And I always find that if I can break things into smaller chunks, that seems to help me. Or if I can set aside some clear time where I'm like, I'm going to just forget about this and then I'm going to worry about it when I have this time to focus on it. And then I tend to get through things a lot faster than I originally thought I was going to. And so for me, what I do is when my daughter's at my ex-husband's, that's when I'm like, okay, we're focus schoolwork time and get my marking done and get my report cards written. But trying to set it to the side until I have that specific time to work on it, it helps with the overwhelm, because I just say, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to deal with it when this time comes. And I also find sometimes with overwhelm, if you can read some books that have strategies for dealing with stress, or even like focused breathing or meditation, or I've been reading this book. It's about like channeling your energy through your body, through the chakras, and it's about using yoga poses and breathing techniques to help calm your body and help realign yourself. And I'm really interested to see how that will help me with the overwhelm that I'm feeling with what's going on in our country right now, because there's a lot of really disturbing things going on with regards to mandates and not following the rule of law. And it's really a disturbing time for different countries. I know that it was happening in Europe earlier in the year, and you guys have kind of come through on the other side. And I'm really hoping that here we come through on the other side too. But at this point in time, it feels very overwhelming and stressful, because I believe people deserve choice, and I believe people deserve to have informed consent, not forced consent or coercion. And there's not enough data to show that mandating vaccines is actually the right thing to do, or the safe thing to do. And so I feel too that people are that the news is really overwhelming right now, because the propaganda that's being poured through the news isn't necessarily what's actually truthful. and then it's causing a lot of hate speech and different things going on. And I just find it mind-blowing that we are in the state in the world right now, and people aren't actually looking at the real data. They're just looking at what the TV tells them, and that gives me a major anxiety, because when you look at let all aspects and both sides, I feel like the reality is somewhere in the middle.
Mhm. I go with you on that, Amanda. It's overwhelming, and it's fearful. You sort of think, well, all of this information that's coming, that that's not all of it. It's only partial, and it is sort of biased. But being able to deal with it and be in the moment, because what came to mind as you were talking is I was watching a program last night, and it was Australian MasterChef, and it was their final, and it was beautiful. There was 3 of them in the final, and they had a real pressure test to do of cooking. And at the very last, you could see that the pressure got to them a few times, and they were nearly sort of breaking down and stopping and getting behind. And then in the very last 25 minutes that they had, where they could put together their dishes, 2 of them you could see were sort of stressed out and worried about the time and putting it together, and just literally made it by the skin of their teeth. And there was one who he literally stayed in the moment. He was focused, he was calm, and the judges were going, "Come on, you got to get it." And then they stopped and they watched him, and he literally was just sliding through, because literally in the moment, focused on what he needed to do each moment. And he actually finished it just before the time was up. It was amazing to watch the difference. And I think that's, you deal with what you can deal with, rather than worrying about what you can't deal with, because worrying about what you can't deal with isn't actually healthy. So yeah, there is ways of managing it. And I love what you were saying about, I'd love to know about that book that you were talking about with the chakras and the breathing, because breathing, different energies in your body and helping to shift those. Yoga sounds a great thing to take on as well, meditation, anything that just calms you down, brings you into the moment. But I do love the sound of that book to do with the chakras, so I'd love to know about that. And
yeah, I can run upstairs and get it in a minute while
Okay,
you guys
cool.
are talking.
But there's a quote I found that I think is lovely. It says, life has many ways of testing a person's will, either by having nothing happen at all, or by having everything happen all at once. And I think that's what it is. It's like all of a sudden we're in this pressure of something in the universe is happening that is creating this pressure, this overwhelm, and it's how we deal with that is how we're going to come through it. And by succumbing to the fear and just succumbing to it is not actually the best way forward. It is making that stand for what you believe in, because it's testing our values. It really is a massive test of values here. And are you willing to stand for what your highest value is and what you truly, what is important for you? And I think there's a lot of people that have compromised or had to compromise their values. And that's not healthy, because inside there'll be a niggle. There'll be something that will be going, oh, I didn't want to do that, So, where are you, set on all of this?
Basically, I think I was watching Italy as well, what Amanda is saying, and I also agree with you, Carol, on that there's some things that in life that we don't have control over. We cannot, there's some things we can't. So worrying about it, I used to worry about things, but then I realized that, okay, I got to a process of worrying. Then I get told that I'm stressed, or I end up having depression. But then that problem gets sorted out later. But my health, basically, it will continue. So then I realize I don't have to worry. If I can't sort things out, there's no need for me to worry. And what I've realized is, like this week, I've realized there's been so many people that are basically stressed out. Even in the office, there's different people they're different people from different background, they're off sick, but they are off sick with something, anxiety, and they don't know what's the cause, because we are in a moment where people are worrying that the winter is coming with all this vaccine, and people are being told, like Amanda, that you have to have the vaccine. If you don't have the vaccine, you're gonna lose your job. It's a blackmail, but somehow within the line, okay, there's worry, you can worry, but if you look at read through whatever they're proposing, you can find that you have a case, because in life we all have a choice. What proof do they have that if you have the vaccine is going to prevent you to die? You're not going to die. What proof do they have that those who don't have the vaccine, they're going to give? Okay, it is your choice whether you have the vaccine. Like my daughter's dad, he had the vaccine, but he's off sick with the coronavirus. He's not working, he's sick. So there's no different to me. There's no different. Maybe the difference is, it gives mild symptoms. I don't know, but I believe maybe it might be the strain that we have now that gives mild symptoms. But for me, basically, if somebody does not want to have a vaccine, I don't see that they should be put through the stress that if you don't have the vaccine, you're gonna give it. So you have to look at the reasons and then challenge people based on the reasons. You don't have the vaccine, you're going to get sick anyway. The people who have the vaccine, they're going to get sick anyway. So who are they protecting? So you just have to stop worrying, Amanda, and just live your life and request the data and say, I'm requesting the data for, oh, do they have it? Do they have the proof? No, they don't. So everything in life, whatever we do, is a choice. Are we allowed to take choices away from people? No, we are not. We're not allowed to take the choices. And for me, basically, I feel that during 2020, the pandemic has caused so much separation. The scientists are separated, people are separated. So it can only come down to one thing. That is how the cause of the pandemic is meant to do, to separate people, to cause the friction, to cause the argument, and people fighting against each other. So we just have to find, because in Italy there was a big protest about the vaccine. Basically, it's not very nice, and for me, basically, I just believe that we were created to be here, but basically to live freely. But now we're no longer free because of this vaccine. And it's not just destroying, it's finances as well. People are worried about finances as well. There's so many things that the government needs to actually realize, that people have gone through so much. During the pandemic, relationship issues, people have been affected, and physically, mentally, people have been affected. There's so much demanding jobs, people going to the office, worrying about whether I'm not going to catch the virus, am I doing the right thing, coming back to the office, or like working from home. And financial distress and insecurities is affecting people. The death of people's loved ones, those who have lost their loved ones, who are losing their loved ones, whether without pandemic, with different disease. And basically, the government is forgetting all those things, that this is what people are going through. But if the message was sent across, that you can write a letter basically and put that, listen, during the pandemic, I had to go through this. I'm worried whether I'm as a teacher, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this. And you guys are putting this stress on top of me about the vaccine, that if I don't have the vaccine, or if I have it, I'm gonna get in trouble. And that is putting stress in my health with my beliefs. Your beliefs are saying no. So you shouldn't be forced to do that. That's why I believe that you should be able to, the government around the world, these people that are in charge, they should be able to realize what the public have gone through and the effects that has affected people, and just put everything into consideration and not scaring people more. And I don't think that people should be scared. And That's what my beliefs. And Carol Anna, she talks about beliefs, that people needs to think about people's values and beliefs. I've had the vaccine, but I don't have proof that I'm not gonna die. There's no proof, honestly. There's no proof. And Hope's father basically showed me that he's been on for 10 days. He's had the vaccine. He works in the research department. He's at the vaccine and he's sick. He's at home. So to me, if you tell me that you're gonna suck me, I don't have a right. Just because I have a company, I have a right to say I'm gonna suck you. Just because what's gonna happen now is they're gonna suck people, and people are gonna come back, and the government is gonna have to pay those people that they've lost their job. And what's the point anyway? Might as well let people work. Over to you, Carol.
Yeah, it's quite a conundrum, isn't it? And
Yeah.
and I like this quote actually by Timber Hawkeye. You can't calm the storm, so stop trying. What you can do is calm yourself. The storm will pass. And
Yeah.
while you're agitated, anxious, and overwhelmed by this, you're not making good decisions. You're not able to be productive with your work. And you have difficulty focusing on things, thinking logically. So how can you make great decisions if you can't think logically? All of this is forcing you into a state where you've got your ability to solve a problem is impaired as well. So stop. Come into the moment and just become aware of what is it that's going on in your mind, and bring yourself into this. Well, what can I do right now? Because right now is all you actually have. Tomorrow hasn't happened. Yesterday's gone. You're only here right now. And what you do right now defines how your future actually then pans out. So come into the moment. And the best way of doing that is literally just stop everything you're doing and just ask yourself a question. What can I hear? And go, oh, yeah, and acknowledge it. What else can I hear? Oh, yeah. And what else can I hear? And just keep listening. And that just brings you right into the moment. What do I see? And acknowledge what you're seeing. What else can I see? And acknowledge that. So again, it brings you right here into the moment. And then you're aware of that. Become aware of how you're feeling. And then just go, okay, so take a nice deep breath and go, so what can I do right now? And whatever answer comes up, just do it. If it's go and have a sleep, if it's go and watch the telly, if it's read a book, if it's, all right, it's this task here that needs doing right now, just get on and do it. And I think it was Amanda said about it, looking at if you've got big tasks that need doing, break them down into smaller ones. And that may be something that you need to do in that moment. Look at a huge task and go, okay, what are the smaller elements of this task? What is it that's actually causing you overwhelm in this moment? And what of it can you let go because you actually have no control of right now? What of it can you maybe delegate? Is there some tasks you can delegate and let go of? What can you do right now?
I went up and grabbed the book that I was talking about. It's called The Energy Codes, and it's really interesting because it talks about even different foods that you can eat to balance the pH in your body, which can help. Like if you're really stressed and anxious, then you can eat alkaline foods to try to bring your pH back down. And same with because if you're really anxious, it would be your acidity would be really high, and the acidic environment is what actually causes the stress and disease in our bodies. And so I found that part really interesting, but I also found it really interesting how even when you're working out, if you start using the breath work and focused conscious breath work, you can actually have way better results in a shorter amount of time when you go to the gym and stuff. So it talks about like when you're running on the treadmill or something, focusing on breathing through the whole body system and focusing on certain body parts like in your mind, instead of being distracted by your music or distracted by the TV while you're working out. And if you can be conscious and in the moment during your workout or during a time when you are feeling overwhelmed, then it actually can be really, really more beneficial for you. Oh my goodness, my cat found a ball. I haven't started reading this one yet, but The Awakened Brain, and it's called The New Science of Spirituality and Our Quest for an Inspired Life. So I'm excited to read this one and find out what they say in that as well, because I think that will help with a lot of overwhelmingness that's going on right now. So
have you got the authors? The authors?
Yeah, one's called this one was by Lisa Miller.
Okay. Yeah.
Awakening Your Brain. It sounds
The
like a good book.
Yeah.
And then this one is by Sue Mortar.
Turn it around a bit more, straight on. Sue Mortar. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
I got through this one in almost a week since I don't sleep.
Do you go to the STEM room, Amanda?
Well, I can't right now because I don't.
You don't
right
have
now.
a pass.
We can't go anywhere unless you have your vax.
Okay, yeah, STEM room. If you go to a STEM room, it does help.
Yeah, I used to do that before COVID. I would go to the gym on Friday nights and swim, and then go in the steam room and just focus on breathing and stuff, and that really helps too. And I just hope that eventually Canada wakes up and we have more logical laws like the UK does.
I think we're still waiting to see what happens over Christmas, aren't we? We're still not quite sure, but at the moment things seem okay. But
things seem okay, but they're saying the numbers are going up, which is me. I'm always wearing a mask anywhere, which is I hope they don't. I don't think we're gonna have a lockdown. It's too much. It's been too much. So hopefully we'll be fine. Hope so. Hope we'll be fine. But I think meditation as well. I basically use prayer a lot. Basically, to even when I feel symptoms of cold, I basically disconnect myself from the energy. Whatever, I don't know what does the flu mean. So what I've been doing, like Amanda, that book that you have, I've been using prayer to actually disconnect myself from whatever the energy that I'm feeling, or if I feel that I'm going to have symptoms of cold, I basically refuse that I don't have a cold in my mind, and it goes away. And sometimes I'll find that if it goes away, the energy, the cold comes through my ears and coming down my nose. So then I just put olive oil and then it goes away. So I've been doing that for a few months now. and basically refusing even the headache when it comes in. I've just been refusing basically to say that I'm sick, because I listen to Tony Robbins when he talks about the sickness, and when I listen to Bob Proctor, how the energy, you can actually control the energy that comes in. So I've been doing that. That basically when I sometimes I get the symptoms, I'm like, no, I'm not sick. Or sometimes I see somebody else getting sick and I'm like, this is creepy. This is creepy. Or sometimes basically, and I was talking to this girl at work as well, she went off with anxiety. So I started to explain to her what she needs to do to actually control, because when people talks about the energy, like you can choose the energy that comes in. So I was explaining to her that sometimes the anxiety might not be necessarily your anxiety. It could be somebody else. That energy comes in through you. You are feeling the energy for somebody else. So you have to switch off. And she was like, I have been trying that and it works, but sometimes I get tired of it. And then sometimes, honestly, she got tired and went off, and she was off sick for a few months with the anxiety. So I explained to her that sometimes the energy of anxiety is not necessarily yours. And I've realized by praying and meditating that there are some people who have abilities of connecting with the spirit. Sometimes you end up connecting with other people because you don't know your abilities, what you can do, what you can't. You end up basically being off sick at home for few days, but you are sick for somebody else because somebody's energy is in you. So you have to learn to disconnect that. And I've been learning for few months to actually disconnect it, the other people's energy, the anxiety, because and I'm like, when these people talk about paradigm and they talk about the energy, there must be something that goes on with the energy that they're not explaining. So I've been exploring that and teaching myself to actually connect with the energy. And even during the coronavirus, I listen to the pastors, different pastors, and when they speak, they preach, they say during the pandemic, there's so many things that are on earth. So you have to have the ability to figure out, do you have anxiety or you don't have anxiety, or just to work on yourself. Is very, very, it's basically working out how the universe and how God works. There are some people that they say God, they believe in the universe, but if you don't know the knowledge of how the energy works, and then you're gonna keep saying, I have the anxiety. And it's like coronavirus attacks the brain. And for me, when the brain is the symbol of your destiny, everything comes down to the brain. When your brain is disconnected, that means that the whole body is disconnected. So that's why I'm thinking it is a Satanism. Basically, we are being challenged. And being challenged, that means that we are going to challenge it. This thing is going to use us to challenge each other against each other. So then it is up to somebody to stand up and say, listen, I'm not going to do this. And for me, basically, I refuse. If I don't want to do something, I refuse. And I say, I don't want to do it. If the vaccine was not my belief for me to take the vaccine, I say I'm going to work. Or I'm not going to take the vaccine. I look at the points, I look at this. I basically don't have to lose my job. So you have to look at the points. And the worrying is a no, no, no. Because we don't worry about. That's when we have to put it to God. Worry, you hand it over to whatever, who you believe. Uh, universe or God, you say, take my worries off me. And then you do what you can. You go to work as normal. The vaccine, because the Canada now, okay, they are talking about the vaccine, but the world is listening. And Italy, the world is listening. So what if some people, other countries, they step in and say, listen, that's not the way. And they go against it and they challenge Canada and say, we don't want you to force people to do this, and they intervene, and then everything is sorted out. What happens to your stress, Amanda? See?
It would go down a lot, and I just feel for so many people because I know so many people with vaccine injuries, and that's the part that I just don't understand. And so when you were talking before, though, about how sometimes you can take on other people's energy, that's I don't know if you've looked into being an empath at all, because that might help you in your search to understanding how you can take on other people's energy. I know that I didn't know I was an empath until I got divorced. And I learned about narcissism, and I learned about empathy and being an empath, and I was blown away because it was like, whoa, this has been my entire life and I had no idea about any of this. And so learning how to separate, is this my energy or is this someone else's? And even when you walk into a room, sometimes as an empath, you can like, I feel it on my chest instantly, that there's like this anxious energy in a room, and I feel uncomfortable, and I get all antsy, and and I find that right now, because of what's going on, because I am an empath, I've been working so hard to block all of the energy that's coming in, but it's really hard because empaths just seem to like absorb that, absorb that, and we absorb the worries of everyone, and absorb, and we just want to help everybody, and I think that's the part that I'm struggling with the most, is that there's so much out there that can help, and be more of a balance than what the narrative is saying, and I know that being healthy is one of the things that can help prevent the hospitalizations, and lots of people have very minor symptoms if they do get COVID. So why? But people with severe comorbidities are the ones that are ending up in the hospital. So is there something that we could do that was different, such as focusing on mental health, such as focusing on healthy lifestyle and healthy eating, that would actually decrease the hospital numbers rather than focusing on fear and vaccines and staying separated and wearing masks and all of these things that are fear-based, instead of what could we do that is more positive for our lives? What could we do where we can show empathy to others instead of fear and resentment and anger? What is it that we could do to show empathy for ourselves as well, and do to help our mental health and our physical health? Because those are the determinants of whether you're going to end up in a hospital or not, is if you take care of yourself. And so much of disease starts in your brain, not in your actual body, like you were saying. If you get a cold and you start meditating and start focusing on I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, and that's your mantra, then you'll actually get over that. There's research on it saying that you'll actually get over it so much faster. If there's people who've overcome unbelievable medical things where people thought they'd never walk again, or medical professionals thought they would never walk again, or thought they were brain dead and would never be able to do anything again, and they have come out of it and been able to say, like, no, in my brain, I 100% knew every single day I was going to break every single barrier that they had set upon me, and that I was going to be able to walk again no matter what they said. And that brain power, you are able to regenerate your brain, even though and regenerate so many different neurons in your body, that research is starting to show that we are able to do that, when before it was believed that if you wrecked the gray matter in your body, that it you weren't able to fix it, and that's not necessarily true anymore, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of science now coming out and research around that, and yet there has been research for years about this, about how malleable our brain is, and it is possible for it to regenerate. And but it's now starting to come out more. People are now listening more to it, which is absolutely, brilliant, because it doesn't feel like I'm sort of shooting in the dark, or, when you're talking about it, and it is something we can now talk about. But what you're saying about an empath, yes, I totally get it. If you can be aware of energies that are impacting you and be able to do something about it, it is being able to support yourself in those moments. And what I generally do, if I'm feeling impacted by someone else's energy, for me, if it's impacting me, then it's got somewhere to hook into within me. So I will do something about that where it's hooked, such that when that energy comes again, it just goes straight through me. It doesn't actually impact me. So I that's the sort of work that I do. And but I know my youngest granddaughter, she's an empath, and done some work with her because she's really been impacted quite considerably, and at times just sort of broken down and total overwhelm with energies and emotions, whether they're positive or negative, happy or really happy, loving emotions that are just so strong. She just hasn't been able to deal with it, that just broken down and sobbing. And so I've been able to help her with those, and to be present to that. But even at school, with the fear and the sort of angry energies that are there, now she can actually see it for what it is. It's not something that's just bombarding her. She can now stay present and be aware of it, put up a dome or clear it. And she's much happier and healthier because of it, and she's happier in her environment because she knows what it is, and she can now deal with it. But it's when you don't know what it is, it's so overwhelming, those energies. And I would imagine that there are a lot of people that don't actually know that they're empathic, and that they're taking on these energies, and that they have this impact on them from the energy that's going on. And therefore, that adds to the overwhelm. That can really be overwhelming. So again, it's recognizing what is the trigger of the overwhelm in that moment. What is it that's overwhelming you? And once you can identify it, then you can start doing something about it. And if you aren't able to do it yourself, reach out, ask somebody, contact one of us to support you. There's always somebody out there that can support you through this. You do not have to go through it on your own. You don't have to put up with it. You don't have to deal with it or be a victim of it. You can take charge and become the creator and go, okay, so I choose to create my own life. I choose to create the experiences I'm having and how I'm dealing with it. Because then once you choose how you're dealing with it, everything changes. So yeah, reach out and ask for support to get you through this. And things like this: anxiety, anger, irritability, crying, lashing out, panic attacks, worry, doubt, and feeling helpless. They're all symptoms of overwhelm. So if you've got any of those, again, just recognize what it is. Don't feel that there's something wrong with you, because there isn't anything wrong with you. There's just something that's happening emotionally. And as Amanda was saying, that there could be energies, or Nom's was saying it's energies. Amanda, you were saying about this things like the nutrients, the hormones and things that are being triggered within our body. There's ways of dealing with it so that it can be not like the acidity and the pH level within our body. That is a real crucial one. And I know Anthony Robbins always talks about that one. And I think we do tend to lean on the acidic side, whereas our body naturally needs to be just over into that pH side. So You know, we have the most amazing bodies. We have the most amazing immune system. Why, oh, why are we not pushing that? That's what I could not and still cannot get my head around right from the beginning of this last year. Why have we not been told, boost your immune system? This is what you need for your immune system. I've actually heard, I think it's even a doctor at one point said, oh, that's not going to help you. I think, excuse me? What do you mean? Your immune system boosting that isn't going to help you? What's it for? You know, God didn't make us. We weren't created without something that can support us. You know, so boost your immune system. There's plenty of things that can do that. Go on, Amanda.
Well, you were talking about overwhelm. I thought about when my daughter was a baby and just how overwhelmed having a newborn can be, and so many people when they have newborns are afraid to ask for help. And I think that's something that we need to start recognizing, that you said too, like if you're feeling overwhelmed, to reach out to one of us and ask for help. And I think that's so important. It is so empowering to be able to ask for help and not feel bad about it, because I know sometimes, even like when my daughter was little, I'd just be like, I need somebody to come and help me. Like I can't even take her to the grocery store by myself because it's like overwhelming and I get stressed, and yeah, so I think that there's times where it also was because I was doing my master's in the middle of having a child and everything else, so I was trying to take on so many different things, and but overwhelmed myself with it was my own fault. But at the same time too, when you have goals and you get things piled on top of you, being able to ask for help is really important, even if the asking for help is something as simple as hiring somebody to clean your house, right? Like, ask it doesn't necessarily mean that you like ask for help. It means sometimes maybe that you pay for help too, right? Or you pay somebody to come and babysit for a few hours just so that you can get a few things done, and go get your hair cut by yourself or something, right? There's so many different ways to get help, and sometimes it can be with your friends. And I know right now, with what's going on in the world, if I didn't have such an amazing group of friends, I would be struggling a lot more than I am right now, because I have such an amazing group of friends who all from both sides, who are vaxxed and unvaxxed, and they've done what's right for them. And what's concerning for me is the government mandates on things that there's not enough research on. um, but and then people turning on each other too. I've had to walk away from a few friendships because I just can't handle that they don't have empathy for other people's decisions. And I think that people deserve empathy, it no matter what, no matter what their situation is, because you can't walk in their shoes, and you can't completely understand where they're coming from. And so if you can just say, I you're making the best decision for you, no, because of what you've been through, and what you understand and what your beliefs are, and I empathize with you, I think that would make the world such a better place. And it would cause a lot of us to not feel so overwhelmed, especially with what's been going on in the world. And I know, different countries right now have different policies that are a lot more on that side of empathy, and I sure hope that my country starts waking up, and becoming more empathetic again, the way that I believe that our country used to be. So yeah.
Yeah, it is important to put you first, Amanda. Like what you're saying, you've had to walk away from people. There are people that are judging people because they've not had the vaccine. And for me, I don't really mind, because I don't know why I've had the vaccine anyway. I went, okay. I don't know whether it's gonna help me, but I don't mind hanging out with people who haven't got the vaccine, because at the end of the day, it's just God who decides. Basically, I leave or my friends leave. So I don't know the future, what the future holds. So I hope that if there's anyone who is listening, they're just gonna keep their choices, their beliefs, their values based on what they want, not based on what other people want, because we have been divided. But there are no guarantees. Like I'm saying, like in Ghost Talk Show, we say there are no guarantees for tomorrow. No one knows about all this vaccine, that you have the vaccine. Even with the dating, you'll be surprised. It's actually dating industry. When the matchmakers are matching clients, they want to know the person whether they've had the vaccine. So some people believes that when you have the vaccine, it will affect having children. They have all this list that basically that if you've had the vaccine, I cannot date you because you cannot give me healthy children. Is crazy. Honestly, is crazy. They people have the reasons when it comes to
Well, I
vaccine.
know people though who are afraid to take the vaccine because there has been links to infertility with it. So I know that is a legitimate fear.
Oh
Because
yes, yes.
I know people who are terrified that are trying to get pregnant right now and who won't take it because of the fear that they will become infertile or it'll affect their fertility. So, because there's not enough research on it, right? So, that is a legitimate fear right now, which is such a strange thing to even
Honestly,
have to
it's
see
very,
and
very
even
strange. It's
to even
very,
make
very
this see,
strange.
right?
Yeah. Some men or women they prefer to date somebody who has not had the vaccine. Some wants to date somebody who had the vaccine. So people we have been divided basically. So when people are looking for love, they are happy to pay, but it comes the question of the vaccine. The woman that I'm going out on a date with, what if I like them? I want to know about their coronavirus is a pandemic profile. So do they have the vaccine? Honestly, it's annoying, and but it's somebody else's choice, is their values. You have to respect their values, their choices. And for me, if anyone is watching, you don't have to take away your values and your choices just because you're being blackmailed. You have to keep your values. You have to keep your beliefs. There are some people who actually, like Martin Luther, he believed in his values, he believed in his beliefs. So if you are somebody like that, just keep your values and stand up for what you believe in your society, and just speak up. As long as you're not fighting anyone, you're actually speaking your beliefs. uh, and for me, I remember when I basically was meant to go to Germany. I missed the game because my basically passport was late from the home office because of the visa. I had to apply for the visa, and that's when I got really upset that why should I have to go through this when I've been in this country for a very, very long time, and I work. And I had to challenge the immigration myself. I asked my lawyer, and the lawyer said, I want this much. If you want me to write, I was like, okay, I'm going to write it and send it off. So I wrote a letter, the points, my feelings, expressing my feelings, what I'm going through, what is this is making me going through, that I have missed the match in Germany. And so what is the point of not giving me my indefinite leave to remain where I have to renew my visa all the time? And at that point, that's when somebody was able to listen to me. They stopped and listened to what I was saying. It made sense. So in that moment, I got given my indefinite leave to remain. And I stayed in this country. That was 10 years. But if I was like, okay, leave everything for somebody to speak for me, I wouldn't have got what I've got. So instead I was like, I'm just gonna speak up my feelings because I was working hard. I've been in this country for a very long time. and for 9 years, and I had to actually 8 years. So I had to actually speak up and say, I love doing the things that I do, and why stopping me? Why all this control and stopping me doing the things that I love? And so you need to look at the points, Carol, Amanda, and just write the points, and without having to worry about losing your job, because you're not going to lose your job. If you lose your job, they're going to pay you more money. So you have to look at the things in so many ways. I know if it's easy for me because I'm on the other side, but you are faced with the problems. So like try to actually take control of the situation, not the situation taking control over you. So I think now we're at the end. Any words of encouragement, Carol Ann?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Firstly, one thing that you can do as well if you're totally overwhelmed is write it all out. Just write it out, write everything down. What's there, just bring it all out on paper and just look at it. And then just go for a walk. Go for a walk, come back, and then write again. And just again go, okay, so what really is important here? And get things put into perspective. And just like to share with you a quote by Mark Twain, which I think is gorgeous. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. The secret to getting started is breaking your overwhelming tasks into small, manageable tasks. And then starting on the first one. How simple is that? So, yeah. Just keep breathing and ask yourself, what can I do right now? And what's the smaller tasks I can do? And what can I start? So, what about you, Amanda? What's your
I was going to say to
takeaway?
bring it back to breath, because even I catch myself like even when I'm reading things right now, I start being like, oh, and then I'm like, okay, breathe, focus, breathe all the way up and all the way down, and it will trigger your brain to calm down. Yeah, if you feel yourself getting tense and feeling overwhelmed, just try to consciously bring yourself back to breath as quickly as you can, and that will actually, there's research on how that will help calm your brain down. And Buddhist monks, that's the first thing that they learn, is how to control their breath, because our breath is with us always, and it actually helps control the stress centers in our brain. And we don't recognize how important it is unless you start learning about it, and how it affects so much of your body, and so much of your mind is being able to consciously control your breath. And when your mind is starting to race, bring it back to breath, and it will help you bring that brain back to back to center. So yeah, bring it back to breath.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. We are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. And please, if you're watching this later, press some love, some heart button, and share some love with your loved ones. God bless you and live with grace, everyone. Control your life. You are in control.